Okay, Lowe's 2654, customer Otto. These are video detail notes for the kitchen project. I want to give you a real quick look at the room here. Basically, this is the wall that is the lean-in pantry. That's being removed, but there is still going to be a 4.5-inch section of wall right here, as well as the vent in the floor. That'll stay the same. They are going to move the electrical switch right here, but if you look close in here, there's actually water in this wall. It's the interior wall where the water for the fridge is. So there's a couple things about that. Number one, we got to leave at least an inch or two of space here because you've got the baseboard here in the quarter round. But besides that, the water connection is there, so you're going to have hoses and everything else that has to come around the edge of the fridge. You've given 37 inches of space to this. It's probably going to need about 39 of space. So just to have enough room for the fridge to clear everything, clear the moldings, clear the water lines, you're going to have a little bit more room on this wall for that. Now the measurements that I've given are actually really close to the customer's original measurements. I mean within quarter inches and some. So your layout is fine, but there's a couple things about outlets that we need to take a look at. On the sink wall here, where the double is, these two windows, the margin return on this one will probably have to slide over just slightly to give more room for that, what I just told you next to the fridge. That's going to mean these fillers that are along the bottom line here, as in your notes on the drawings, you're probably going to have to omit some of those fillers to slide this over. This particular outlet here behind the coffee maker, that particular outlet is landing right over where the range is at. I've given them a center line of where the stove is going to be. So as far as that goes, that outlet right there will definitely have to move, probably just move one stud cavity to the left. If it's going to be a gas stove, then we might actually move that outlet down low and use it as a static igniter or the controls for the stove. Now this outlet here, the GFI, this one's fine. You can see each of my arrows there. Those are where the actual cabinets start and stop. And this is the 48-inch space in the center where the actual oven's going to be at. Now, you turn the corner here, of course they want to keep the margin the same, whatever the margin is here, want to change it to this one. But just starting with the margins that you had on the drawing, basically your 24-inch cabinet here, two 18s on this one, and a 24 here. That makes the end of this cabinet here just several inches from the length of the window. No problem at all. This actually could be longer if you wanted to, as far as working with the island or whatever. There's no problem there. Now, one thing to look up here on the ceiling, that molding the ceiling is 107 3/4 average height. That molding is at 103, I believe it was. I'll have to double check. 103 or 104 from the floor. That is a 3 5/8 inch crown molding. And if we're going to go up to the ceiling with our new cabinets, we're going to have some way of dealing with that as far as being able to put a block transition or stopping the molding before and running our molding in behind it. We need to discuss that with the customer, how they want to deal with the upper cabinets touching that other molding. Our molding for the cabinet companies is proprietary and does not match that molding. So you definitely want to talk to them about what we're going to do with it. You can see some splices here that are open. So the molding itself that's up there is going to be easy enough to take down and rework, but definitely want to talk to them about what approach they want to take with the moldings. Over on this side right here, same thing, molding runs around. Now this wall, because it is going to come out and stay here, the molding is going to be returned. This is still going to be a 24-inch deep cabinet, but it's going to go to the ceiling. You're only going to have about 5, maybe 7 inches of molding right there that's going to turn and go back into a hole and then up against the other cabinets. This may be a section of molding that we want to either wrap our molding around to make it congruent between one side of the wall and the other, or it may be a section of molding we want to omit. Talk to them again about what we want to do on this little return wall for the upper moldings on that one. Now on this other side here where the oven is, this has kind of got a desk area here now. One of the things here was this was only at 8 feet in the design. One of the reasons I think was because we had a staircase header that came into the top of this. That's where the staircase goes up on the back side. I've given you measurements to where the edge of that staircase header comes into the length of these cabinets, as well as the height of that staircase header from the floor or from the ceiling down. You can see now that they've got the molding just basically run into it on both sides. we would have to put our cabinet in front of that and cut the back of the cabinet out and then block the interior of that cabinet. In other words, like if you open the door, there would be just a wooden shelf, an interior colored shelf to hide that in the new cabinet. If you want the look of the cabinets going all the way to the top, then that's how we can fix that, is actually head off the interior of the cabinet. And that way you wouldn't have this transition in the molding overhead like that. Again, this molding is going to return out the side like this. And again, the molding is going to come into play with how we do our upper cabinets to make that line out. Now look at the room from a distance. The island that's here now is only 54 by 24. Of course, the island's going to get much larger. They're getting rid of the table area. And so that being said, the island plumbing is not going to be done until after we set the island cabinets. So there would not be any sink-based modifications in this one because there's not going to be any plumbing holes that we have to cut. Similarly, where they're going to put the under cabinet refrigerator over here, or the beverage cabinet, beside of it, we've got the small sink. Again, there's no plumbing, so there wouldn't be any sink-based modifications because there's no plumbing holes there for us to have to cut for those. Now, as far as the appliance package, they're getting almost all new appliances. Make sure that you're checking out the depths of those, especially this refrigerator. That's only a 31-inch or so deep return, and this room in here is really narrow for that walking space. Now, as far as the cooktop and oven, all of the electrical will be the customer's responsibility as far as getting all this new electrical and pieces brought in. The house does have CPVC plumbing. And because of that, here where the corner angle sink base is, if they decide to have us tear out the cabinets, they'll have to have that capped off and drain capped off under the actual house before we come, because we're not supposed to do anything as far as the CPVC plumbing. It can pop off after we leave, so we got to have that handled under the house before we actually come and disconnected from the sink. I'm going to take you over and let you see the built-ins now. Okay, here we've got the built-in areas on the right and left-hand side of the actual fireplace, left and right-hand side. Right now, those built-in areas are about 44.5 inches interior, and they're about 27 inches deep. And you can see there's a soffitted header space up here above this. So they're talking about actually taking that soffitted box out, having the molding then run into the hole opening, come back. You can see there's actually a wall transition right there. So the best of my ability, this is about 46.5 inches, 47 inches interior after they pull it out. What it looks like is they've built a MDF box and slid that into a rough opening. When they take these pieces of fluted molding off the edges, they're going to be able to actually see what the opening size is. I have no way of knowing that at this point. I'm just assuming that the left and right hand sides are 3/4 inch MDF and using the interior measurement to come up with the width of that. Now, the other thing is that prior to us coming, they actually are probably going to put some type of electrical or some type of lighting in the backs of these. That's fine. All that needs to be addressed as far as the design, so we don't have anything in the way of our cabinets. The cabinet built-ins for this could be a hutch type, where you have a left and right hand side end panels with adjustable shelves instead of it having to be with some type of a floating shelf. I told the customer floating shelves are problematic. Like this particular picture is 16.5 inches tall. That particular picture is 6 inches tall. And so you get a mismatch of heights, and then you cannot adjust those floating shelves after they're installed. Now this one here is exactly the same thing. It's a built-in area. This one's a little different, that it's toward the outside wall. But again, they're talking about taking the top out of this soffit box. Another contractor will do that, take that top out. And then the other thing we talked about was maybe doing a slat wall or some type of interior fixture wall that they could put adjustable shelves on or something like this that wouldn't cost as much as building it out with kitchen cabinets. And he's going to explore some of that a little bit and research some of that. So that's the built-in areas on the left and right hand side of the fireplace area. If you have any questions about this one, feel free to give me a call at 423-650-1051. The mudroom area, I need to talk to you about the construction of that as far as how it's being constructed and the materials used, especially these areas here. I need to speak with you about how these will be constructed and the materials used to be able to make sure we have a correct order list to be able to get that together. Thank you very much. Have a great day.